realized I should have done this video when it wasn't night, pitch blacked out. But what may I be doing? Can you pick this up? Can you get the, let's see if we can get the, oh, that's my tripometer. Let's see if we can change it to the odometer. And why that matters without being too dangerous. Alright, so, let's be trippy. Alright, maybe that one? That's engine hours, which says 9.1, which would make way more sense. But here we go, odometer, 353,679. Obviously, I have no oil pressure right now. My temp is good, my battery is lights are flickering, and my tranny temp gauge is out. My headlights, those are my brights, are pointed straight down. This is my headlights. So what am I in? This is a 2003 GMC 2500 6.0. And I am now about 270 miles from where I picked it up. When I arrived where I picked it up, it was about 9 o'clock this morning at a Colorado Springs auction yard. And I have towed my Jeep, which is behind us right now. I won't show you that. I drove my LJ down last night. About 300 miles last night in a winter blizzard. Now you may ask what the heck I was doing, and to be honest with you, I asked myself that several times a day. Especially when I showed up at the auction and this truck was supposedly running. No, it was keys, yes. Running, yes. Driving, yes. That was what was on the auction. So now clearly I'm driving it. It's running, driving. I do have the keys, so I guess all three of those were met. But the photos of the truck showed the bed to be really nice, which is what I went after. It's a long bed and they're very hard to find. And it's definitely, it's in good shape, but it's definitely got some dings and dents. It's going to need to be repaired. The tires were absolutely bald. The two front ones are bald. They're balder than bald can be. And the two back ones are like brand new, but they were flat. And the bed, which in the auction showed empty, is filled with used crappy tires, amongst some clothes and some other miscellaneous crap. So I did some rounds this morning, and luckily it was right across the street from a tire shop, and they were able to give me some air, and it seemed to be holding. And I towed this Jeep back, my Jeep, the one I drove down yesterday, bumper pulling it right now, back to Grand Junction. Got about 40 miles to go till I'm home. I was extremely nervous. Now, I've done this my entire life. I'm almost 40, and since my 20s, my early 20s, my ex-wife can attest to this as well as her family, I have been buying and selling vehicles and literally flying across the country. So this was really no big deal, no drop in the bucket per se. But because I am older and I am way more conservative and way more cautious than I used to be in my early 20s, this one made me a little nervous. Very nervous because the transmission is not shifting correctly. I definitely do not have my last gear. And somebody had put a shift kit in it, and I can tell because it's got a button shifter, which didn't come out until 06. And that does not work. The tow mode does not work. So I was very, very nervous driving down very steep mountain passes with two very, very, very bald front tires with absolutely no four-wheel drive, because this was advertised as a four-wheel drive truck, but yet it is a two-wheel drive. So these are the glories of buying from auction. And if you bitch at the auction company like I usually do, no matter what, they tell you, well, you had plenty of time to come take a look, which is so funny to me because they advertise online, and they know that most people are out of state or at least out of the city and are not going to have any ways to drive down and to take a look at their bullshit that they put up online and say this truck is or isn't. With all of that, I will say that I have never been more impressed if this engine indeed does have this many miles. Now, when I got there, I did have to add oil. The dipstick was not reading, which is why I thought the oil gauge may be accurate, but the oil gauge does not work. And what else? So I added oil, got the level up, thought the oil gauge would work. It doesn't. So I took a huge chance and decided, you know what, I'm just going to drive it. And up, I think they call it the Gauntlet, which is, I grew up in Colorado, I should know this, but out-of-staters do call the section between essentially Denver and Silverthorne. There's two gigantic grade passes you have to pull, 7%, and not just like a little 7%, we're talking like 30 miles of 7%. Then you get to go down to Idaho Springs, and then you get to pull another gigantic pass, which is Eisenhower Tunnel. That's about 10,000 feet. Go down that one, you get to pull Vail Pass. So if something was going to happen, I assumed it would probably be then. And not only does this truck say it has a shit ton of miles on it, but it's doing this at 65. Now it says it's only 55. We know 100% certain from the GPS apps that I'm using that it is 10 miles per hour slow on the speedometer. So right now it says about 58, meaning I'm going about 68. All the while I am flat towing my Jeep behind me. And while this might not be the most exciting video as far as the information for me and the memory for me and just what goes into what we're doing. So I have basically a long bed dually that I bought from an auction, I bought from a dealership. It seems like you can't even trust the dealerships. I bought it from the dealership, and I literally drove it 1,000 miles in the motor blew. Now, it did have 200,000 miles, but it was a Duramax. It shouldn't have blown that early, and it is what it is. We fixed the motor after 2 years. We finally rebuilt the motor, and decided to go to a single rear wheel. And I'm not going to go into that, why we did that, but the point is that I needed a long bed, single rear wheel truck bed. And that's what I have in this truck. And also have a 6.0, which will be awesome. They do compression on it because I have a feeling that when they did the shift kit in it, they thought they replaced the odometer. And, or not they thought, they did. They replaced the odometer to try to get all of the gear spots that the shift kit. When I say shift kit, guys, I'm talking about a button shifter that you cannot see right now. It's too dark in the cab. Okay, that came out in about 06. It's really slick. I love them. They're cool. My 06 has it. My 05 does not. Nonetheless, they tried to do that, and they just didn't do it right. I have a feeling they grabbed a gauge cluster out of an 06. I'll know when I run the part number. If the part number on the back of this gauge cluster is to an 03, then we'll know this is accurate mileage. If the part number matches an 06 or newer, then we'll know that it's not the accurate mileage. Now, the accurate mileage on the VIN report said 117,000. And in my opinion, this motor runs so well that it very well could be 117. But the only way I'm going to know that for sure is to get the part number off the back of this gauge cluster and see what it matches. And if it matches what I hope it does, then I think we're going to be good to go. I'm going to get off the phone before I get pulled over. So I appreciate everything, and Merry Christmas.